I'd like to start by acknowledging the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people, the traditional owners and original custodians of this land, and I pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that to all First Nations people here today. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Councillor Sophie Torney and I'm the Mayor of Boroondara, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to the best session of the Electrify Your Life Expo. And it's an absolute privilege to help open this discussion on one of the most important transformations of our time, our transition away from fossil fuels to renewable energy. Our energy needs don't pause during this phase, they continue as our sources change from coal and gas to power from the sun and wind, supported by storage. It is a remarkable transition, but also a very complex one. So what role does our government play, do power utilities and market forces all play in making this change happen? And what are the real costs and benefits for communities? Not just in terms of dollar costs, but in terms of reliability and fairness and access. And these are the questions that we're going to explore today with our incredible panel. As I said, highlight of the Expo today. We have Renate Vogt from Powercor, we have Paul Corkill from Solar Victoria, and we have Ruchika Deora, the General Manager of Consumer Energy Solutions from the newly reincorporated State Electricity Commission of Victoria. Each panellist will have 7 minutes and give us an overview from their perspective on how this transition can be managed, and then we'll be opening up the conversation to you. So let's begin, and it's my pleasure to introduce our first panellist, Renate Vogt of Citipower and Powercor. Renate has more than 20 years' experience in electricity infrastructure and is an expert in regulation. An economist by profession, Renate has highly developed skills in infrastructure business, including revenue and market regulation, electricity innovation, developing commercial, non-regulated business streams and customer engagement. She knows the ins and outs of how our energy system is changing and can give us a great perspective what the future of our wider grid looks like. Thank you, Renate.
Hello everyone, it's great to be here today to present on how Citipower, your distribution network, can enable the energy transition. I myself, a local resident, having lived in Kew for the last 20 years. So, who is Citipower? Citipower is your network service provider. We transport electricity through the poles and wires that run down your street and deliver electricity to your homes and businesses. We're not your retailer and we're not your generator. Our Citipower network supports over 340,000 customers, and as you can see, we've got residential customers, small business and commercial and industrial. The services we provide are vast and varied. The slide just provides a snapshot. These services include our traditional activities such as planning, construction and maintaining the distribution network and emergency response. The way we are using energy is rapidly changing. With growing electrification, continuing uptake of consumer energy resources, whether or not that's solar or batteries, we are more dependent on a safe and reliable supply of electricity. Now, given the scale and scope of these changes, our energy system in the future is going to look very different to the way it looks today. For example, by 2031, we expect 28% of customers will own an electric vehicle. This compares to only around 3% of customers today. And if you're interested, the current number of owners of electric vehicles in Boroondara is only around 4,361 to be precise. Electric vehicles use roughly half the consumption of an average household, so that's significant. So their impact will have a significant impact on the network. The Victorian Government banned new residential gas connections from January 2024, and Victoria is more dependent on gas than any other state in Australia. Our analysis indicates the electrification of gas will result in over 2,600 gigawatt hours of additional electricity being consumed per year by Victorians, and this will primarily be in space and water heating. And we're already seeing the impacts today, as we've seen a 10% increase in electricity consumption from 2024 to 2025. By 2031, the Victorian Government projects that there will be an additional 900,000 people living in Victoria, and over 100,000 of these people will live and work in the Citipower area. Further, there will be a shift towards single premises becoming multi-storey and all electric buildings. And like you, I got a letter in the mail as well. So it's going to impact everyone. The scale of renewable generation is projected to increase rapidly, with 65% of Victoria's electricity expected to come from a renewable source by 2030. The extent of electrification will challenge our existing network. We are projecting that by 2031, consumption will increase by 26%. I personally think, given what we've already seen, that that's a conservative estimate. And our ageing infrastructure means the likelihood and consequence of asset failure is rising, with growing peak demand exceeding our capacity limits. So understanding the potential impacts of this operating environment is critical, as we know you need confidence in the energy system in order to electrify your homes and your lifestyle. So, energy markets are very complex, and the challenges of electrifying your home can be daunting. We're committed to helping customers maximise the value of their investments regardless of technology. Now, most homes will be connected to a single-phase power, either via an overhead service or supplied from an underground service pit. If supply is available, and this is the case in most of Boroondara, you can add appliances such as an EV charger, induction cooktop, hot water heat pump, and air conditioner without even informing us. However, for old homes pre-1960, which mine is, they typically have a 50 amp fuse rating, which can limit how much you can electrify your home. Now you're asking, what is a fuse? Well, the fuse sits in the installation box, which is the point of supply connected to your home and the electricity network. Upgrading fuses is essential in providing additional capacity in order to energise your home. Speak to your electrician to understand your current fuse capacity. Over the next 5 years, energy markets will continue to evolve, and the choices and complexities of customers will continue to increase. From 2026, metering across Boroondara will begin to be upgraded, so we own the meter in your home as well. The most notable change for customers will be the ability to use your mobile phone to directly interact with your meter. This will make understanding how and when you use your energy in real time available for the first time. Today, your consumption is only updated a couple of hours. From late 2026, you'll be able to separately engage retailers to sell your excess export energy into the wholesale market separate from your import. This change will allow residential customers for the first time to directly engage VPPs to bid your excess solar and other forms of SER into the wholesale market. And this will be done through virtual power plants. Although still subject to regulatory approvals, we're hoping to commence trials of curbside EV chargers from late 2026. This trial will initially involve about 50 curbside chargers, and we'll be seeking to understand the usage pattern of the chargers, improving the availability of EV charging infrastructure, and offer customers without off-street parking the opportunity to access charging facilities. Although the location of these chargers is still yet to be determined, we are working with the Boroondara Council to determine the best spots. From July next year, we'll also be introducing a new low-price solar soak period into our residential time of use tariffs to encourage more customers to consume when solar exports are at their greatest. And from 2027, we'll be offering customers the opportunity to enter flexible export agreements. So going forward, you'll be able to actually export your solar up to 10 kilowatts. Today, you've actually got a static limit of 5 kilowatts, even though your solar system might be greater. There is so much more we are doing, but I'm very conscious of time, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Renata. That was really fascinating. We're very excited in Boroondara about the curbside EV trials. Next up, we have Paul Corkill from Solar Victoria. Paul is responsible for leading the teams that help Victorians access renewable energy for their homes, as well as partnerships with industry bodies. Specifically, he leads Solar Victoria's programs, industry and policy teams, delivering customer-centric programs that empower Victorians to access safe, high-quality and affordable renewable energy. This includes partnering with training providers, industry and relevant government bodies to support the continued growth and development of a safe, innovative and sustainable renewable energy sector in Victoria. With many of the rebates and incentives being run through Solar Victoria, Paul is an excellent person to speak about why there's no better time to electrify your life. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Sophie. I think you've just answered what I'm here for, so I can sit down. It's great to be here, and really congratulations to Electrify Boroondara. It's a really fantastic event. Solar Victoria has been a gold sponsor for a little while now, and we're really rapt to be a part of the event again this year in that capacity, and also to be exhibiting out on the floor, and I know our team have been run off their feet. For those that don't know, Solar Victoria is actually a part of Victorian Government. We're part of the Department of Energy, Environment and Climate Action. We were formed in 2018. Our first program that we were set about to deliver is the Solar Homes program, which commenced in August 2018, so 7 years ago. And we've been able to achieve really tremendous scale through that program. It's set about with a commitment for rooftop solar, batteries and heat pumps or hot water systems, and we've really been able to see tremendous scale through that. Over 400,000 Victorian households have taken advantage of the rebates that are available through the Solar Homes program, including 350,000 of those for rooftop solar, which has, for those households who have been able to, and probably educated by community groups such as Electrify Boroondara, have optimised the use of that rooftop solar and are saving around $1,000 per year off their energy bill. So terrific benefits that are flowing through to those customers, and it continues to steam along. We've got those rebates and loans continue to be available for solar PV in the market, and collectively we've got over 2.3 gigawatts worth of solar has been installed in Victoria through the program, which actually equates to 25% of Victoria's renewable energy since 2018. So it's really significant scale that it's been achieved in small-scale solar systems which are on people's roofs. More recently, we've had terrific support and interest in our heat pumps, and I saw lots of people out on the floor here talking about heat pumps as well. They are extremely popular. When we've surveyed our customers who are rooftop solar customers and asked them what type of hot water system they've got, they're now saying, just by 1%, that heat pumps are their number one hot water system at home. So solar PV customers understand the message around moving towards electrifying their homes, and they are absolutely leading the charge and have been for a little while now with hot water heat pumps, and we're seeing a lot of customers who have received solar PV from us returning for another rebate for a heat pump hot water system, with a timer on the hot water system so that it's able to be operated during the daytime when there's in solar hours. That means that many of those customers are not paying at all for their hot water because it's being powered by their rooftop solar system. More recently, we've actually looking to support local manufacturers, and we've introduced a boosted rebate, which is an additional $400 for hot water systems which are manufactured in Australia and New Zealand. There's over 10 brands that are available, nearly 90 different products that are available, and that started on the 1st of July. And we've already seen this first quarter, we've already seen the market share for those products has doubled from 5% to 10%. So it's had significant scale already just in the first 3 months. So we're really excited about where that can go. A third of our hot water retailers offer a locally made hot water system, and so we can see that there's plenty more headroom. We'll see a lot more happening in that space, and that means that our traditional hot water manufacturers, of which we're really blessed with in Australia, will be able to then move their businesses more into hot water, into heat pumps, and we'll be able to see more of those entering the market as well. Solar for apartments has been really exciting. We've just launched our round 3 of solar for apartments. Over 100 buildings have been installed in Victoria, mostly in inner city Melbourne. We have got a couple that we managed to get into Geelong, but we're hoping to get some more into regional Victoria. But understandably, where the population is that lives in apartments is in those inner city ring, and including in this local government area. Round 3 will see another 5,000 rebates made available. We're still installing out of round 2 and a little bit of round 1, but we'll see that end at about 4,000, and then this will bring another 5,000 on stream by the end of next calendar year. There is quite a tail there. What I also wanted just to focus on, because it's newer to Solar Victoria, June last year we've taken on responsible for the Victorian Energy Upgrades program. This program is one that's been running actually since 2009, and you might be familiar from lighting upgrades or shower head, efficient shower heads, those sorts of things. But the program is really evolving today, and Solar Victoria is responsible for the policy and the legislative amendments that are made to support this program. There's actually over 30 different types of activities that are available under the Victorian Energy Upgrades program. And in the last year, about a third of the activities that are being conducted under this program are actually about space heating. So giving people the option to be able to move out of a gas heating solution. And we heard Renate talk about that a little bit, about what that's going to do to the grid. But we're certainly seeing more and more people disconnecting their gas ducted heating, primarily gas ducted heating systems, and changing those out for a split system or multi-head split system, which is a whole of home heating solution. And there are really significant incentives that are available under that program for that as well. We're also doing a lot of work in the Victorian Energy Upgrades program for commercial businesses. We launched a commercial and industrial solar program just last week. It's 30 to 200 kilowatt systems. These are big systems installed on commercial industrial users who consume a lot more of their energy during the day, because that's when the businesses are running. And so there are really significant benefits. To support this, we don't just offer the incentives out into the market. There's another side to it, and that's about how we enable the industry that deliver this, something that I'm really passionate about. Our training program, we had a $12 million training program which concluded in June this year, and we've just started another one, which I'll tell you about, but with 7,500 tradespeople trained under that program over 6 years. Really significant efforts around teaching micro-credentialing, so training existing tradespeople on how to move into the renewable sector. So for electricians, that's how to install solar systems, how to install battery systems, fully subsidised training available through us. And then from the plumbers' side, I'm doing work with plumbers as well, so that they've got the skills and the competency and the comfort in installing hot water heat pumps. That's been a really popular, and that continues. So I said, we've concluded that round of that program, but we've started a new electrification training program, which is a $5 million fund over the next 3 years, and we're into that one now. It will kick off first and foremost with further funding for our upskilling plumbers initiative. So again, helping to train plumbers. All of our training materials that have been developed through that are available free of charge for training providers on our website. We've created a lot of content which is then being pushed out into the training sector. There's some other activities there which I won't go on to. Part of our work is, and we've got more than 400,000 customers, we go through a program that we've designed which we know is the voice of the customer. We survey all of our customers 3 times. They get surveyed midway through their application process, maybe while the install's happening, 1 month after the install of appliance has been completed, and 1 year afterwards. And it's incredibly rich data that comes out of that. And as you can see from some of the statistics there really is some great excitement from the general population. So if you feel the excitement here today, it's not just all these rusted on electrification people, it's happening in the general community as well. Really excited about the opportunities to further electrify their home. For us, the experience is about starting with solar and how that gets them onto a journey, and there's great momentum that follows from that. We're also seeing that in the market. You may have seen the federal government's cheaper home battery scheme, which started on the 1st of July, and that's also helping. What is motivating people? It's about cost. It's about saving, which is great. There's really direct benefits that come about from electrifying your appliances within your home. Some people are doing the whole box and dice and going through and doing the whole house in one hit, but many of them are actually going appliance by appliance through their household, and they don't drop off. They do keep going because they can see the benefits that flow through in terms of the savings on their energy bills, and they're doing their bit for the environment. You can see, the environmental reasons is number 2 there. It does feature heavily for people, but obviously the real motivator as well is that they're saving money directly. I'll leave it there. Thank you, Sophie, and thanks all, and I'll be around for questions shortly.
Thank you, Paul. Great example of policy and financial support driving change. So next we have Ruchika Deora, the General Manager of Consumer Energy Solutions from the newly reincorporated SECV. Ruchika is recognised for her expertise in electricity regulation and policy, renewable technology integration, decarbonisation, low voltage energy solutions and energy data governance. At the SECV, she leads a significant portfolio focused on delivering consumer products and services that aim to accelerate electrification in Victoria. Thank you, Ruchika.
Thanks, Sophie, and thank you for the invitation to be here. It's really exciting. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the SEC and what we're doing in the market to actually accelerate all of the great work that Citipower and Solar Vic are offering to consumers, specifically residential consumers. It's important to recognize that the State Electricity Commission has come back not as it was in the past. This is not the SEC that was originally formed in 1916 to help accelerate the market in terms of just rolling out electricity. There's a massive renewable energy and energy transition that's going on currently, and a lot of it isn't happening at the rate of pace that we'd like to see for a variety of different reasons. So the SEC was brought on and formally incorporated in October of 2023, and since then we've made significant progress. We have 3 focus areas. We have an assets team that's working on increasing and accelerating the delivery of renewable energy and storage, but they're really big assets. So they're like the solar farms, the wind farms, and the big scale batteries that help actually drive renewable generation at a large scale. We are also the 5th largest retailer in the state, but only for commercial and industrial consumers. So we support state-owned assets at this time, and we might move into a more commercial environment, but mostly for commercial and industrial consumers. It's partially because Victoria has a very competitive retail market for residential consumers already. Depending on the day, there are anywhere from like 19 to 26 electricity retailers to choose from. So that's not a space that needs the kind of market support or acceleration that we're looking to provide. We are really focusing on households, and that's where my team has come in to try to drive acceleration of the market and support consumers to electrify. To date, we've run 5 pilots to try to understand where are the barriers, what are the gaps, and how can we support you all on your journey to electrify, leveraging the great work, again, that distribution networks like Citipower, Powercor, United Energy, AusNet, and Gemini are doing, and taking advantage of all the great work that Solar Vic has worked to deliver grants. We are a government-owned corporation. We're not a government agency. So we work collaboratively with the government, but we are an independent corporate agency. So we're not exactly like Solar Vic. Solar Vic is really the organization that's there to drive these grants and to work really closely with government to say what grants should be in market. What we do is we help to combine those state-level grants, those federal-level grants, and actually help you get exposure and information about other types of funding that might be available to you in order to drive the renewable energy transition. Our objective is really to work together and really collaboratively with existing entities, partnership with traditional owners and industry that are already working to help us electrify the market. But really the nut of what I want to talk about today is about how consumers, i.e. everyone in this room, is at the heart of the energy transition. And it's something that the industry's kind of been talking about for a little while now, but I really want to unpack what that means. The AEMO, the Australian Energy Market Operator, puts out a planning document once every couple of years. And in that planning document, they scenario how we're going to reach our climate targets by 2050. In their scenario that they're planning to actually have happen over the course of the next 25 years, they're suggesting that by 2050, 20% of all energy across the eastern seaboard in Australia is going to be produced behind the meter, which means it's going to be produced by consumers. So building off of what Renate said in terms of the amount of renewable energy that's going to be generated by rooftop solar by 2030, we're seeing a tremendous amount of generation come from people such as yourself in residential homes, as well as commercial and industrial, but privately generated. Almost 60% of the total generation will actually be behind the meter solar, PV, photovoltaic, it's just solar. 84% of the storage that's available, i.e. batteries, are going to be behind the meter, and 80% of that is going to be what's called orchestrated, which means coordinated, which means we're going to try to incentivize all of you to charge your EVs by 2050 in the middle of the day when the price of electricity is low because there's a lot of solar generation. Household electrification not only benefits you as an individual, but it's also pretty vital for the state as a whole. Victoria still has about 80% of households that are connected to gas. That's much higher than other jurisdictions, and it's a much higher percentage than commercial and industrial load as well, which means that for every 20,000 homes that we can get off of gas and actually electrify, we're actually releasing a petajoule of gas for those industries that might be harder to decarbonize. So it's actually not only benefiting yourself in terms of driving down the cost of your total energy bills at your house, it's also helping support the broader industry and our broader transition towards more renewable energy. So what we want to do is we want to start with household electrification. We want to start by demonstrating how household electrification can help you reduce your energy costs at your home. You can take a step further, and Paul mentioned, by ensuring that your heat pump hot water system has a timer on it and that it's heating your water in the middle of the day, not overnight, which is how it used to be timed up until very recently. You can further realize savings by actually not paying for that hot water system heating your hot water. That's part of what orchestration or coordination is. It's just taking that extra step to time when and how you're using electricity. The next thing is if we start to coordinate that, particularly in areas maybe like Boroondara or even more concentrated areas, you start to realize broader network efficiencies and grid efficiencies. And those efficiencies help keep the cost of electricity low for everyone. So start with home electrification, move to home orchestration, and then ultimately you can move towards smart grid optimization, which is pretty exciting. The challenge is that, as we all know, and as Paul mentioned, the biggest barrier to electrification is the cost. And we know that. We've done also research, and we're hearing from consumers all the time. The cost of energy is increasing, particularly gas is increasing, and it is cheaper to run a house off of electricity than it is to run a house off of gas. Depending on your household, on average, you can save anywhere from $1,700 to $2,700 a year if you have solar on your roof already. And there are three main appliances that really drive this. It's the heating of your house, it's the heating of your hot water, and it's your cooking to a lesser degree. But if you do fully electrify your house and get off of gas, you can also do what's called cap your gas at your house, and then you're not paying a supply charge for that gas as well. So when that goes away, you're really looking at a fully electrified home, and you're looking at reducing your energy costs. Again, we know that the transition is difficult, right? We know that it's expensive. It's around $13,000 to electrify those three appliances. We know that there are a lot of rebates, and they're great rebates, but people want transparency around how those apply to them. And it's a bit complicated. You're relying on tradies, and you're relying on your trades to help you through this journey. And there's a lot of information out there. There are a lot of great people, such as the ones that are actually exhibiting here today. But there are those that are not as convinced and aren't as familiar with some of the emerging technologies. So what the SEC wanted to do is drive the creation of a one-stop shop. It's one place where you can come either online or pick up the phone and access an advisory team that helps you navigate the complexity associated with this transition. What we're doing is we're providing you with tailored information that can be used to understand what your energy costs might be to switch from gas appliances to electric appliances. We're vetting installers and working collaboratively with the installer industry through training programs such as SolarVic, but also doing our own endorsement process to make sure that the installers that we're sending to your homes or that you're enabling to come into your house understand exactly how to set those devices and make sure that they are taking full advantage of the smart technology that exists in them so that they're timed to use energy when it is most cost effective for you. We're also looking at developing a product marketplace, and we also provide access to an overview of different financial institutions that offer low-interest financing for electric appliances or energy efficiency and electrification. So the big things that we're working on at the SEC is how do we make this transition as easy as possible for customers? What is the call to action for you to electrify? It's going to vary. Some people really are driven by that cost. Some people are more interested in reducing their energy footprint. But in order to do either of those, we have to make sure that we are actually meeting our mandate, meeting our vision, and realizing that we have to maintain and build trust with you as individuals, which means that we have to actually deliver on the value that we're talking about here. The one thing I will leave with is that throughout this journey, we've done a lot of engagements such as this. We've done a lot of customer research. And what I found fascinating was the target segment that we're seeing lean into this opportunity the most are people above the age of 50. And they're really doing that because what they want to do is make their homes as livable for as long as possible so that they can stay in their existing home. And what they're finding is as they electrify, that gives them more of a defined understanding of what their energy costs are going to be over the next 20 to 30 years so that they can understand as they retire or move into a more fixed income type situation that they have a smart home that can maintain their lifestyle and make their lifestyle as easy for them as possible. I found that quite interesting, and we're working a lot with those folks that are on that journey towards solar and electrification. And this is just some early engagement on what we found and some vox pops, but again, we've shared this with Electrify Boroondara so they can flick it around. But there is a link on our website to both the product marketplace and our planner. I'd encourage you to check that out at sec.com.au and go to the household section. But I'll also be around, so please I welcome your questions, and thank you again.
I do have a few questions to help us get going, so I might just start with one maybe for each panellist, but thank you so much, all of you. That is absolutely riveting information and really good to know, really useful information as well. Renate, I might start with you. Household, I guess it comes up a lot in the community, the ability for the grid to deal, and you talked about numbers, I think it was a 26% increase. You know, can Citipower's network cope, and what's being done to ensure that reliability and security?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you. We're very focused in ensuring that the Citipower network is future-proofed to ensure that we can cope with the challenges and the opportunities of the energy transition. Now, obviously, we want to enable customers' choice, and we've spoken to thousands of our customers in preparing our most recent 5-year investment plan. And they want to be able to export their solar, they want to be able to charge their EVs, and they want to electrify their homes and their lifestyles. And we want to be able to do that for them. However, that's actually easier said than done. The network is a very sensitive creature. It needs just the right level of demand. So we found that if there's too much export of solar onto the network, you have overvoltage, which means that your solar inverter will trip, and worst case scenario, there can be quite significant outages. When there's too many people consuming electricity, and we've found that recently actually, there's a number of retailers, and including ourselves, we proposed a daytime saver tariff that is offering free charges in the middle of the day, which makes sense, and it's encouraging people to consume, including charging their EVs when there's excess solar on the grid, and we were all for that as well. But what we're finding now is, and it's going to grow, this issue, is we're finding undervoltage on the grid. And it happens at a very localised level, at a street-to-street level. So what that means is that consumers have signed up to a retail offer, and they go, oh, OVO told me to charge my EV in the middle of the day, but I can't charge it because the network can't cope. You might recall in California, actually, they asked vehicle users to not charge. So we're just finding this problem emerging, and it's going to grow. And I think, I talked about in my speech how that by 2031, the predictions, I think that 28% of people are going to have EVs. So we have put in an investment plan to the regulator because we are a monopoly. Our funding is actually determined by the regulator to make sure it's efficient and prudent, and we've sought quite a bit of investment to be able to meet these challenges.
So you're on it. Sounds good.
On it. We are very much
That's very reassuring. Thank you. Paul, a question here is, do we still need solar incentives now that we have almost a glut of power during the day, and should those incentives be focused say on apartments and renters and other EV charging, etc.?
Yeah, thanks, Sophie. I think no, we need to do more. And I can be a little bit cheeky here because if there's any questions about what the impact on the grid is, I can throw it to Renate. But so as I said earlier, we've put 2.3 gigawatts of additional capacity through the Solar Homes program, so through Victoria's incentive. Actually, we've got a legislated target of 95% renewable energy by 2035, and to get there, we need 7.6 gigawatts of rooftop solar over the next 10 years. So we've got a long way to go. I know some people talk about, and there's a lot that needs to be done to be able to augment the grid to be able to manage that, but we have got ageing coal-fired power stations, which will come to end of life during that time, and in 10 years we won't have coal in our electricity grid, and we will absolutely need more renewable energy, and that will need to include things like rooftop solar. There are things that are happening though. There are additional requirements that are being put on new systems that are being installed today, which allow those systems to be curtailed in an event where when there is too much power on the grid. That's in place now. We have that for systems that are being installed since October last year, actually, so a year ago. And then there are obviously more and more conversations that customers are having with their solar retailers about using that power behind the meter for other purposes, be it their electric vehicle, be it other electric appliances that are happening behind there, and especially home batteries. So we're absolutely going to continue to see huge growth in rooftop solar.
And the batteries are a bit of a game changer with that, aren't they?
They really are, yeah, they really are. The other thing, just quickly if I can, I'm just going to say, we also are moving the program and the activities that we're involved in into newer areas as well that have been harder to reach. So there's a lot of work happening within social housing at the moment around rooftop solar. There's a lot of work. Obviously, we heard earlier. I talked earlier about Solar for Apartments program. These are sectors that have been otherwise locked out of rooftop solar. So while we might have 30% of homes that have got solar, it's not uniform across the demographic.
Thank you, Paul. Chica, really interested in that SEC marketplace and how that rollout's going, and when or how residents in Boroondara could sort of make the most of that too. That'd be great to hear.
Absolutely, thank you. So it's actually in pilot phase on the website right now. So if you wanted to go on and have a look at your own home planner tool, you could go and pop in your address, pop in what appliances you have, and see about how much it would cost for you to replace any gas appliances in your home to electric. There's also a wealth of information on the website, and if you're looking for an installer, you can either contact our customer advisory team, or if you're in certain areas, I don't think Boroondara is one of them, but we will be rolling out installers for Boroondara next year. So you can start to get started, and the idea is that, again, it's softly, but also, it goes with you on the journey. So if you're just going to go there and kind of get some ideas, understand roughly what your costs might be for your home, you can do that. If you're ready to pull the trigger, you can call us up, or you can go down that pathway and connect with an installer that can help you get on the way.
Sounds good. I want a follow-up question, but I'm going to throw to the audience first and see if there are any questions here. Thank you. If you can just let me know where you want to direct your question, or to the whole panel.
Well, principally to Renate at first. I don't live in Boroondara, I live in South Bank, and I live in a high-rise apartment building, and we're discussing with Paul how we might take advantage of government rebates and that sort of stuff. But I happen to be an old building that was built in the 60s, converted to residential in the 90s, and it has some substantial infrastructure in the basement that was provided. So we're lucky, we have our own substation, and I'm told our building is such that we can electrify everything in our building if we want to. And we need some assurance, and I think our people working with us have got some assurance from you guys that, in fact, we have enough power coming out of our substation to do that. But I have a lot of friends who live in apartment blocks not far from there that were built probably 20 years ago, brand new, and they don't have that solid infrastructure, either in the streets supplying them or in their apartment blocks. And they've been told they cannot electrify simply because the cost would be enormous to rewire the entire building or to rewire the street. Are you guys doing anything about that? I can think that things like Melbourne Square has a projected population of 10,000 people. That's on top of what's the most densely populated suburb in Australia. And that probably has the infrastructure in there. But there's a hell of a lot of apartments in South Bank that don't. Are you guys helping with that?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, we've submitted our 5-year investment plan to the regulator, and we've actually sought a significant amount of funding specifically for the Citipower network to upgrade the infrastructure in order to allow people to electrify buildings, homes, etc. So we are. But, I mean, you pointed out that, sometimes it actually depends on where you are on the street. And it depends also on the age of the building as well. And I touched on that in my speech when I talked about just residential buildings. You might be on a single-phased power line, you might be on a 3-phase power line, you might have a very small 50 amp fuse, but you might be lucky enough to have a 60 amp fuse, and so you can electrify. So it all really much depends on a case-by-case basis, but certainly for Citipower, we will be looking to augment the network.
What is the chance of Victorians having to pay to put their excess power into the grid?
So the market is just it is maturing in this space, and in fact there are new rules now that allow VPPs to actually, a customer can sign up with a retailer, a VPP, and they can on your behalf then bid excess solar onto the wholesale market. And this is very much a push by the government because there's a lot of passive SER out there that's not being used. So people are, for example, using solar to self-consume, but there's all this excess solar that they can actually export and actually bid into the wholesale market, and they can benefit from that through reduced wholesale prices. This is a space that's just emerging. We in fact have very, very few VPPs connected onto our network. The Victorian government has done some initial sort of engagement with customers on this, and there's a lot of work to do to build trust and confidence. I think they were saying that, for example, in South Australia, where they've got a lot more renewable generation and a lot more customers, have solar and a lot more savvy in this space, around 30% of them are keen to sign up with a VPP. That's not the case in Victoria. It's only 10%. And in fact, we actually engaged with a lot of customers who said that they were making a lot of money. They had a solar battery, etc. They paid very little in terms of energy costs, but then they signed up to a VPP and they started losing money. Now, when I say that, please don't misinterpret me. I think VPPs have a really, really important role to play going forward. And Chika talked about the huge amount of energy savings that can be made when we can fully orchestrate SER on our network. But there's a lot of work to do in that space. And I think that Chika, you might want to talk about SEC. I think the role that they can play in here.
Yeah, I think the thing to I'm going to say something a little bit controversial. But you got to think about, especially if you haven't put solar on your roof, making sure that you right-size your solar consumption for your house. So based on your lifestyle, based on your energy needs, you want to put the amount of solar on your roof that you're going to consume, and maybe future-proof a little bit to say, okay, maybe if I'm going to get an electric vehicle, talk to your installer about what that could look like. Because at the moment, the excess solar that you export, the feed-in tariff is very small. It's like a percentage of a penny, right? And the reason for that is what Renate was mentioning, is that the market is maturing, and we don't at this point in the middle of the day, we don't need people exporting their solar. We need people self-consuming their solar, and that's what orchestration. That's actually the best way for you to actually realize the most energy savings. Why do you want to export something for a couple of pennies or even 8 cents, 10 cents when your cost of electricity is probably around 25 to 30 cents? You should be self-consuming as much as possible. And it doesn't make a ton of sense to over-install a rooftop system at this point so that you can export back to the network. But the SEC is actually absolutely looking at the more we put in electric appliances, the more you're going to be able to self-consume because you're going to be running those appliances off of electricity as opposed to gas. And then we are absolutely looking at trying to partner with SolarVic and the networks to start to offer VPPs, virtual power plants, where you start to orchestrate a little bit more your own localized generation that can help support the grid in local areas as well. It's a little bit down the track, but we're definitely, it's absolutely on the roadmap.
Is microgrids one of the options that you might be thinking of in terms of your future planning for the grid? And the other is undergrounding power lines, given our fire risks.
Yeah, good question. Microgrids are definitely something that we're thinking about, but more at this stage in regional and rural areas. So I represent not just Citipower, but United Energy and Powercor. And Powercor is a regional network. It covers all of the western suburbs of Victoria. So we are proposing, and we have got an approved funding to build microgrids in those areas, where regional communities have low reliability performance. Going forward, I think we're going to see more and more of that. But the network will still be required. It is the backbone. And even with these communities that have microgrids, they still need to be connected to the network, for that, I guess, assurance. And then you had a second question in relation to undergrounding. Look, the majority of the Citipower network is underground. It is very, very expensive. So there's always that balance between cost and reliability. And noting that actually Citipower has incredible reliability performance. It's got the best reliability performance in Australia.
Thank you.
And in addition, it's not just because it's underground, it's also because there's very strict planning requirements of what they call N-1 secure. So it's meshed and there's a lot of contingency.
Question, Paul and Chica, really. If I'm putting solar on my roof, which way am I coming? Am I coming to the SEC's marketplace? Am I coming to SolarVic? You've got rebates. How am I making my way through the two of you? I'm going to get you to go first, Paul, because we haven't heard from you for a little while.
Yeah, all these grid questions. It's great to be on a panel with you, Renate. It's not one or the other, is the short answer. We won't install the equipment for you. We have a digital portal for customers to make application for the rebates. But there's another side to that portal where there's the retailer, who might be someone who's working with the SEC, is actually putting in the information that are required from the industry side about the installation that's happening. And so the customer can gets the incentives, but then it's being coordinated through the industry network, which would include the SEC.
And so I think, completely echo Paul's statements. We're just a little bit earlier on in the journey for consumers. So we aggregate a lot of what SolarVic does. But again, you go to SolarVic, they've got a tremendous amount of information on their website, which is all great as well. But their portal is really around application for the rebates and helping the installers ensure that they've got the right governance, they've done the right due diligence, safety certificates, et cetera, for the installation. And SolarVic audits that on a regular basis. For us, you come in and you get an idea initially about what your costs might be, and then we'll put you in contact with an installer who will need to work with Solar Victoria in order to get those rebates for you. So we're a bit more customer-facing and a bit earlier on in the journey.
Thank you. Do I have any more audience questions? We've probably got time for one more.
Can I go directly to a wholesaler, bypassing the retailer, and then couple that with a solar battery, so that way I don't need to have the rooftop solar panels and take advantage of of the cheaper pricing?
No, you have to. What you would have to do is you'd have to register with the market in order to be able to do that. And as an individual household, you can't, but B, you don't want to go through the compliance requirements of being able to actually play directly in the market. There are some retailers that do actually expose you to that pricing. Amber, for example, is one of them, and there are a couple of others that are coming on to actually be able to give you more transparency into what the wholesale cost is. But as of now, no. Could we move that way in the future? That's a formal quote, by the way.
I like that. You heard it first here. I think we're probably at the end of time, but I've just got a question for each of you to leave us with, which is, if someone's on the fence about electrifying, what's the one takeaway that you'd like to leave with them from today? Paul, we'll start with you.
As I said earlier, I think that what we've really seen as being the deciding factor for so many people has been to sit down with somebody who can give them informed advice about what that solution will do for them in terms of their home. So, and in particular, the thing that's the motivator the most that we see is that it will significantly reduce their energy bill costs, and they can see the investment that's made up front, which is offsets in some cases because of the incentives that are available, that investment can be returned very quickly, 3 or 4 years, for a solar system, 5 or 6 years for a battery. These are incredibly good investment decisions to be making, so we get them on the economics.
And Renate?
Can't really improve on that. It's a no-brainer. Go out there, do your research, electrifying your home and shifting to an EV as well. I think that's actually the biggest area of saving, will result in significant savings for you. So just do it.
Yeah, I think if you're on the fence, contact the SEV, come onto our website. Whether you're looking for cost savings or you want more control about your current energy use and energy use in the future, this is the best way for you to realize that, is electrifying your home. But if you have any questions, you can come to the SEC, you can go to SolarVic's website. Citipower even has great information on their website as well about how to do this. But start with the SECV, and you can get, again, it takes 2 minutes to go through that planner tool and get a sense of what it might cost for you individually.
This has been absolutely fantastic, and as I promised you, the best session of the day, but really helpful, useful and thorough. And I just want to say thank you to our 3 incredible panelists.